Dick Daff! Why didn't he give Jimmy Dips a 10? Why? Why didn't he do it?
Hi everyone, Big Thinny Fan Brother here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Action Bronson album, Mr. Wonderful. Action Bronson is a New York rapper. He's been building a name for himself over the past few years with his charismatic personality, great flow, relentless bars about sex and food, and just a touch of old school East Coast hardcore hip-hop revivalism or nostalgia. Originally, when his earlier material was grabbing attention, he caught a lot of heat for the similarity that his delivery, his flow, his voice has to that of the Wu-Tang Clan's Ghostface Killah. But with a series of solid projects, features, singles, he's been able to gain way more favor and fandom than some MCs do who have such painfully obvious influences. And I was kind of skeptical myself of Bronson's talents until I actually heard the collaborative mixtape he did with The Alchemist, Rare Chandeliers, where he won me over with his sense of humor and his clever lines. He really came through on this project as a character with a really big personality, and that goes a long way in hip-hop in the internet age. I was sort of bored by the Blue Chips 2 sequel mixtape that he followed Rare Chandeliers up with, but regardless, Mr. Wonderful has been one of my most anticipated hip-hop albums of 2015, mostly because Bronson has dropped one stellar single after another in promotion of this album. I've seen Bronson pull through with solid projects in the past, and with these tracks being some of his best so far, I thought I really didn't have much to worry about as far as the deep cuts on this album went. But when I actually got to listen to Mr. Wonderful, I found an incredible amount of filler and just generally bad tracks that bog the entire album down, which is confusing because I think Bronson could have really done well on this project if he pulled together a no BS album. Just give us an album of what has brought you to this point, your great verses. But after the first third of this album, the music here really becomes more about bells and whistles and complete distractions and detours. Like I said, Mr. Wonderful starts really well, not with just gritty, hard-hitting boom-bap beats that you might be expecting from Bronson or anything like that. Actually really glitzy and kind of classy instrumentals with a lot of pianos in them, a lot of piano rock grooves on this album. This really is like the Billy Joel of hip-hop records. The song Brand New Car is a pretty good start to this album. There is a horribly sung hook on it. I got a brand new car. But it's kind of forgivable because the vibe of the song is so funny. It's silly, it's ridiculous, and Bronson's bars are hilarious a lot of the time, making mention of things like 11 bowls of Crispix, underrated cereal, or saying that overseas he probably has tons of kids that he doesn't even know about. Bronson isn't funny in the way that a comedy rapper might be funny on this album. He's just super witty, super clever, and over the top. Lyrically, preposterous situations and hilarious brags continue onto the next song, The Rising, with Big Body Bess, who has a really huge presence on this song at one point. And the piano-led instrumentals, especially on this track, brings Bronson's music a certain kind of glamour and refinement that his older stuff has been missing. But of course, Bronson still comes through as this funny, vulgar guy, so there's kind of an irony to it. With tracks like Terry and Baby Blue, Bronson gets a little emotional over some Love on the Rocks, which goes over pretty well, him sort of showing his softer side. And with Baby Blue, there is a hilariously bitter Chance the Rapper feature. And on the song Actin' Crazy, Bronson lands on this kind of synthetic, smooth instrumental with these reversed chords, and he delivers this personal story of coming up in the rap game. He still loves his mom, he's here, and he's got a lot of ambition. And with the song Falconry, which brings in Mayhem Loren, it's cool to see Bronson once again linking up with his cohorts. Mayhem Loren's verse is hilarious, talking about how he's been in New York since before it became a bike lane. And there are these quirky synth chords on this track, a big booming beat. There's something kind of circus quality to it, but it doesn't go so far down that road that it gets too ridiculous to take seriously. At this point, I feel like on the album, wow, this is really good so far. I'm like in the clear, but that doesn't end up being the case. We then get this painfully awkward and time-killing interlude with god-awful singing throughout the second half of it, and the even more awkward City Boy Blues, where we see Action Bronson singing over this kind of light, reverby, old school rock instrumental. It kind of feels like I'm listening to like a really bad Hendrix song or something like that. The singing all over the track is consistently awful, and we only get more of this toward the back end of the album with the even more out of place The Passage, which feels like a really bad live version of what Bronson is trying to do on City Boy Blues. The instrumental is even more amorphous and difficult to make out. The singing is muffled and thrown to the back, and Bronson is barely even present on the track a lot of the time. We're just kind of getting this dead air live rock instrumentation that really isn't doing that much. And with A Light in the Attic, we get a few very sad, heart-wrenching bars from Bronson and a decent instrumental, but a lot of the time, again, like with The Passage, he's nowhere to be seen. Instead, we're getting just instrumental passages and a really big piano solo. The song Only in America has a horrible, homely hook. The singing is awful on this track, and I can't totally tell if it's just because the singing is bad or if there are just some really weird, terrible effects thrown onto the vocals. But this song as well sticks out for a really bad reason. The beat seems really thin and kind of lo-fi, mixed very low, and the vocals are pumped up very loud. This song seems almost demo quality, but it somehow landed on this record. And the song Easy Rider, while I like it, I think it's a great track, it's not the most stellar of endings. It feels a little anticlimactic with a song that I'm already so familiar with and was released so long ago being the finish of this album, and sandwiched in between these fantastic tracks kicking the album off, and this song is just loads and loads of fat and pointless, directionless filler. Some of which might have not been bad if it were just shorter or segued from or into tracks more creatively, or at least in a way where it felt like it wasn't just some kind of random distraction. Meanwhile, the track Galactic Love is painfully short, shorter than some of these longer tracks that really didn't even deserve a spot on this album and could just be taking up room for a legitimately good song or single. At the end of the day, I'm kind of torn on this LP. While Bronson did bring some of his best material, that effort that he put into tracks like Actin' Crazy and Baby Blue does not show in a lot of these completely needless tracks. I'm feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this LP. Transition, if you've given this album a listen, what did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? What do you think I should review next? And that's it. Anthony Fantano, Action Bronson, forever.